What would you do if you got to visit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge before anyone else? Reporter Gabrielle Russon from the Orlando Sentinel did just that, and she's here to share more about her experience in a galaxy far, far away. So, you got this amazing experience.
I did. So for years, 4 or 5 years, Disney's been planning Galaxy's Edge and has kept secrets really, really tight to the chest. And I got to go out to California in February and hear all about it firsthand from the Imagineers and folks from Lucasfilm who've designed and built the land. So I got to learn more that I've been waiting to hear about for a long time.
Did you know, were you a Star Wars fan before you got this amazing invitation?
Oh, totally. I remember watching the A New Hope with my dad on like VHS tape in the 90s and just being hooked the moment I watched it.
So what was the first step in this journey? Where did they take you first?
We started out at Lucasfilm. I was one of a handful of media invited to be there for this 3-day trip in California. And we started at Lucasfilm, where Imagineers and folks from Lucasfilm talked about what they did, how they came up with the land, the research they did, and how they designed it, and their intent behind it.
What was some of the research that they did? I'm curious, because I want to know what they looked into.
Well, they wanted to create their own land, not like Hoth or Planet Tatooine, planets that Star Wars fans are already familiar with from the movies. They wanted to create a whole new planet from scratch, so they created Batuu. And they wanted to find a land that was just felt old. So they went to places like Morocco and toured the marketplace and places that had a lot of history to try and take some of those little details back to California and to Orlando.
What was the time frame they were shooting for? Were they looking for a certain time in the movies, or were they trying to make it timeless? And how did they seem that timelessness? Because Star Wars is epic.
Well, the land takes place in the current trilogy that's out now, but they will pull from movies and from the animation and books, characters that in the Star Wars universe that you might see on the land. And what's interesting is they said that they might also pull from future things. So as more movies come out, you might see that show up in the land later on. So it has that ability to kind of expand and grow.
To evolve. So from meeting with the Imagineers, going over what they wanted it to be, what was your next step in the journey of seeing this come to life? We
went to Walt Disney Imagineering and got a sneak peek at some of the technology they used to build the attractions and saw some of the animatronics. At Smuggler's Run, there will be an animatronic Hondo Ohnaka. I think fans might be fans of the Clone Wars animation might be more familiar with him, but he's the second most advanced animatronic that Disney's ever built, second only to Animal Kingdom Naboo, the giant at Pandora that you'll see. So Hondo is the second most advanced animatronic, and I remember walking up from him from behind. He's 7 feet tall. He's really big, and his movement is just very, very lifelike. Really neat to see.
Now, did you get to see how they're incorporating him into the land, like where he's going to be, how close you can get to this gigantic animatronic?
He's going to be at Smuggler's Run and giving instructions to visitors before they go on their mission.
Nice. Now, is there anything else as far as the ride goes and the development of the attractions that they shared with you and the technology that they're going to be using?
Well, Disney Imagineers talked about how they never would have been able to build these rides before. The technology they used helped them build these advanced rides a lot quicker. And they used a lot of virtual reality to be able to have a digital copy of the ride before it was ever built. So they could control on the attractions what you see. They'd know what you see and how the ride vehicle would move, things like that. They've been able to do that digitally.
Now, each one of the attractions, Disney is notorious for being a storyteller. So they're going to tell you a story. Did you get an insight as to what the stories were going to be for each one of the attractions?
Yeah, on Smuggler's Run, that's a Millennium Falcon ride. You go on a mission. You're on a Smuggler's Run, and you get to fly the ship. And what's really cool is it's kind of like a giant video game. If you're the pilot, you turn left, the Falcon's going to go left. If you're a gunner, you have to try and shoot TIE fighters. If you don't, the ship's going to get damaged, and then the engineer has to save your tail and fix it. So it's like you're in real time, which sounds really neat. It's a personalized ride, like a video game.
Now, how many different scenarios are there? Will it always be different, or will it be like?
It sounds like there are a lot of different outcomes because what you do affects the outcome of the game. And I was, on this media tour, a lot of the reporters were skeptics at heart. We're like, what happens if you you wait hours in line to ride this ride, and what happens if you get a really terrible pilot? Or, will you still have a fun time? And Disney Imagineers were like, yes, no matter how bad you are at flying or whatever, it's still a good ride. And they also said that you can't actually crash the Falcon or completely destroy it. So you will eventually make it to your destination.
Now, moving into the other attraction in the land, the Rise of the Resistance, how much did you get of that?
Yeah, I learned more details than I'd learned before. Disney said this was the longest ride they've ever built. It's not 28 minutes, they said. I know there had been some rumors on social media. It's not that long, but they wouldn't say how long it is. But it's one of their most ambitious rides they've ever created. You're on a trackless vehicle, and it has the ability to do 4 different things, or multiple things, so you feel like during the course of the ride, you feel like you're on 4 different rides. So this high-tech vehicle, at one point you even get out of your ride and are marched into the detention center. So you feel like a prisoner. So it just sounds really immersive. Sounds pretty intense. You start out in the Resistance, it's like a cave base, and you take off, and then you get sucked in the tractor beam by a Star Destroyer, and you're on a massive. I was in one of that. I didn't get to walk through the whole ride, kind of just sneak peek. The ride wasn't operational when I was there. I didn't get to ride it or anything, but I walked through a hangar bay of the Star Destroyer, and it's huge. There's a giant 100-foot window, star window on the screen. You look over to your right. There's a TIE fighter, just a huge space, and they'll have stormtroopers there. They'll have real Disney employees there, kind of barking orders and playing the role of the First Order. So it sounds like it's just a very immersive experience being in this hangar.
That's amazing. I got goosebumps just telling me that little bit about that. Do you think that for someone who isn't a Star Wars fan, that these 2 immersive attractions will be appealing? Like, it will just be exciting?
I think people love rides, and I think these are, Disney's saying that this is the most ambitious. This project is one of the most ambitious they've ever done, so Disney's talking a lot of game about it.
So tell me, will I see some familiar faces in The Rise of the Resistance?
You will. If you're a fan of the current trilogy that's out, you'll see Finn and Poe and Rey, and they'll be played by the same actors as in the movies.
So how will I see them, though? Are they be animatronic? How are we interacting with these? If it's the same voice, it can't be an actor.
Disney has said that you'll see them in some form, either a hologram on screen or an animatronic.
Interesting. Do you know which one? Have you seen any of them?
I do not. I do not. I can't tell you anymore. Yeah, that's all I know.
Surprise. So the next step in your journey was to actually go to the lands themselves, right?
Right.
And what was that like?
Well, I had to wear steel-toed shoes. No cameras allowed. It was still a construction zone. A lot of the props hadn't been put up. They were still working on the interiors of a lot of the spaces, but I got the sense of the scope of the land. You walk in and there are these giant spires, these giant rock formations, and they're like, some of them are over 100 feet high. They kind of take your eyes off. And then you look and go around a corner, and there's the Millennium Falcon, like full size. It's 110 feet from tip to tip, like just massive. So there are moments that, I know Disney has said they want to make this land cinematic, and I think they definitely succeeded. You kind of do feel like you're in the movie when you see the Falcon parked out there.
Do you feel like it's all revealed to you in an open space when you walk in, or is it kind of like you go from each space to the next and it just keeps growing onto itself?
Well, it's a big land. It's 14 acres, but you have to kind of weave through it. And you might see land speeders, or you keep walking and then you see a TIE fighter. It's not all, you kind of have to explore it a little bit.
So inside the land itself, we will have, obviously, merchandise opportunities and gift shops. Can you tell me a little bit about what they revealed to you about that?
Sure. Well, I think when you think of a Disney theme park, you think of a giant merchandise store. They love to sell you souvenirs. This is going to be different. It's going to be more intimate. They really wanted to make it authentic, and I think this is going back to some of the research they did, going to Morocco and other places. But they're going to have little spaces or carts or vendors. So it's not a giant store. And some of the spaces, they're very small spaces. They're not massive. You know, there was one space where they had, you know, baskets hanging from the walls and baskets hanging from the ceiling and carts, and it didn't feel like a typical Disney souvenir shop.
Now the merchandise, did you get to see the merchandise that they're actually going to have in the shops? Did they show any of that to you?
I got to see some of it. Some of the coolest things is you'll be able to build your own lightsaber and custom make your lightsaber. You'll be able to build your own droid, and the droid will interact with other droids or beep and make noises and light up when it sees other things in the land. So you get that interactive feeling.
So is the merchandise that they're going to be having, is it going to feel like you're buying it from the Star Wars universe, or is it going to feel like you're buying it from a theme park with the logos and everything? Are they dipping into that pool at all?
Well, Disney said they didn't want to have merchandise that appeared in a big Disney box or a big Star Wars box. They wanted it to feel authentic, like you really are buying it from the land. And I mean, there's things that you can buy that definitely feel Star Wars, like Princess Leia's dress, the iconic white dress and her bun hair, or, you know, stuffed animals that make noises that are, you know, replicated from the movie, like the Porg. They have a Porg puppet that makes noises. That's pretty cute.
Did you notice any like hot items that people are going to be like waiting to get, and you know all the kids are going to be buying it?
Yeah, well, I could just see the lightsabers, and it's a great way to in a sibling fight, great weapon to have. So
moving out of merchandise, because I love to shop, but I also love to eat. So what kind of food opportunities are we looking at?
You know, I got a partial menu tasting. There wasn't any hamburgers or pizza. It was more sophisticated. It seemed like healthier options. You know, there was a hummus with a meatball that wasn't meat. That was actually really good. Or a shrimp salad. You know, ribs, things like that. A little bit more classier.
Will we be expecting blue milk?
There will be blue milk and green milk. It's not actually milk from a cow. It's plant-based milk, like soy milk, but it's going to be kind of like a slushy, a cold drink, berry flavored, or kind of berry and melon flavored, or kind of more citrusy and orange flavored, pulled from the movie.
With the food, are they having like an official restaurant, like a sit down? I know I heard something about a cantina bar, but are they doing like an actual area you can go in and sit down and enjoy your milk and have a meal, or is it all just grab and go like Toy Story?
Well, there's not going to be an official sit-down restaurant where a waiter comes to your table and takes your order. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be there. They're going to have 2 quick-serve restaurants, but there'll be places you can sit down there. And they'll also have a cantina, a bar, where you can get the frozen milk and get alcoholic drinks. And there also will be a frozen milk stand in the land and a popcorn stand in the land.
What's the size of the cantina? Because I want to go to the cantina, but is it like something where we're going to have guest on tavern, or it's smaller, or is it going to be a bigger, kind of open, like be our guest type?
You know, it felt smaller than Be Our Guest. I got a tour. It's still under construction. Disney wouldn't give me dimensions on how exactly big it is, but it felt intimate. It didn't feel like a huge space. It'll be interesting to see how Disney handles opening day crowds.
Oh, crowds, yes. Did they tell you they have a plan for that, or anything that they are going to have up their sleeve to kind of make it less congested? Or,
you know, when I was there, Disney didn't give any details on how from the operations side. But one Imagineer, Scott Trowbridge, who was, you know, major part in planning this land, said, you know, we want people to have a good time, and if it's crowded, you know, we don't want people to have to endure the land. We want them to have a good time. So I know that's something Disney's really mindful of and trying to figure out how they're going to prepare and handle that.
So in the land itself, when we talk about space comparison, are we looking at lots of wide open spaces for like a mass crowd to get through, or is it kind of smaller alleyways, comparing it to maybe like a Diagon Alley versus Hogsmeade? Is it, you know, going to be narrow? Can we get through it?
You know, honestly, it felt like kind of like both. There were areas that you felt like you had a lot of space. It was a big land, giant arches. You know, you felt like you had a lot of space. But there were other places, like by the shops, that it felt a lot more narrow. So it made you feel like you were really someplace different. So I think it's a combination of the two.
So rumor has it our old friend Captain Rex from Star Tours is going to be hanging out in this new land. Did they reveal where?
Yes, he has a new job. He's going to be the DJ in the cantina. So he'll be spinning some kind of galactic, funky pop music while people are getting a drink.
Out with the cantina man and with Rex. I like it. Are they doing any other entertainment, though, in the area? Did they mention?
You know, Disney did not disclose kind of their plans for entertainment.
So no plans for meet and greets or atmosphere, nothing at this point?
Didn't reveal a whole lot about that aspect.
I'm sure they'll have a stormtrooper or two somewhere. I'm sure. So are there any hidden Easter eggs that you're like, oh, that's great, that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, I think there will be for hardcore Star Wars fans. I saw a design, I didn't actually get to see it built yet, but I saw drawings of, there's going to be a drinking fountain. It's going to look really shady and kind of sketchy. It's all part of the Disney magic. But when you drink water, there'll be pipes, and you'll see the eye of a Dianoga. And that's the critter from A New Hope that tried to get them in the trash compactor when they were trapped on the Death Star. So I think, people that remember that will get a kick out of that.
We'll appreciate that.
Yeah, and Disney went out of their way to do other little details. They did a tracing of the original R2-D2's foot. So you'll see, and then they made a device where they could make his tracks around the land. So you'll see original tracks from R2-D2, like he's, jetting around the land, which is kind of cool.
Now, they're taking this a step further into a digital format with the app. Did they tell you anything about how they're going to be using that technology?
A little bit. Disney wants this to be a really personalized experience. And, there's going to be so many people there. And, this is a way for Disney to make you feel, kind of connect with you on an individual level and make you feel special, even around all those crowds. So when you fly Smuggler's Run, Disney will know how you did. If you did really good, if you did really bad. And then when you go into the cantina and you order a drink, the bartender might talk some smack and say, oh, you didn't do so well. And Disney's going to know this using, I didn't get a whole lot of details, but they said from the smartphone or from the Magic Band. That's how they'll be able to track people. That raises, to some, that might raise some concerns about, data tracking and privacy. Disney did say that people will be able to turn that technology off if they don't want to participate.
Yeah, but I think it'd be really cool to be like, yes, I am a good pilot. I can prove it. Scan my band.
Well, and it'll be neat too. Disney will be able to know how you did on multiple visits. So if you keep coming back, you'll develop a reputation.
Oh, that was just a bad day. Just ignore last Wednesday. Yeah. I do not know what happened.
Just like in life, you develop a reputation in the land. So.
Thank you so much for sharing that journey with us. I cannot wait to get there. So get out to Disneyland on May 31st and Disney World on August 29th to check out the opening. But how do I follow you?
Well, you can read OrlandoSentinel.com or follow me on Twitter at Gabrielle Russon.
Well, I can't wait to see you there when it's fully opened. I'm sure you'll have great pictures.